Joining us tonight to talk about merit in review is Chris Paulis, and I'm just going to give it to Chris. Take it away.
Okay, all right, let me hop up to share my screen and we'll get rolling. So yes, I was asked to address PPA's new merit image review, go through some of the nuts and bolts of it, especially for folks who have not really heard much about merit image review, or maybe even haven't even participated in competition before. So we're going to talk a little bit about what brought this change about, what some of the real advantages are to this new system, and explore things related to that, and hopefully in the end answer people's questions and help people feel comfortable jumping out there and giving it a try. So let's sort of do a historical perspective then and now. Up until 2022, PPA held a yearly international photographic competition. Generally, that was held in the summer or early fall, and in leaving enough time for them to then make awards and all of that at Imaging USA. But as of 2023, they have now sort of split out. They've made major changes to international photographic competition. That still exists, but you will not recognize the previous IPC in this new model. We're not going to talk about that much tonight. It's literally like a March Madness head-to-head competition, single elimination. Enough said on that. Somebody else can address that at some point. We're here to talk about the merit image review. They separated that out, and the separation was for a number of very good reasons, and I think was a great decision on their part. So let's talk a little bit about. So as we said before, there were district and international competitions. District basically gave you a shot at getting 4 merit images at international, but it didn't really count for much of anything on its own. You couldn't earn merits for degrees through district. You could through international photographic competition. You'd get 1 opportunity per year to earn merits toward degrees. So that can make earning a degree a rather slow process. Up to 4 entries per division, and the divisions were open, artist, and wedding. So you could enter, up until this year, you could enter 12 things if you were going for all 3 degrees: the master photographer, the master artist, or the Master of Wedding Photography degree. Judging was streamed to the public. Once we hit the, I guess, man, it's been seems like a long 3+ years, but I think they started streaming the judging with COVID. Before that, the only way anybody saw it was if they went to Georgia and into the rooms where the judging was being done. And not many people did that. And as of 2022, the scores that they gave to entries were either not approved or not a merit, approved or merit, and image excellence. Prior to image excellence, the terminology loan collection was used. Because there's not really a loan collection, they were wise to start calling it image excellence. That had a second value in that there is an award that you can earn beyond your degrees called the Imaging Excellence Award. And that's earned when you accumulate 13 loan or image excellence items or images. If you've earned it 13 times, you'll earn that award, which is kind of cool. It's something I'm pursuing. Approved means, or was 1 merit, and early on, and actually up until this year, alone or an image excellence received 2 merits. So you could, if you were a diamond photographer of the year, you had 4 entries in a category that got that were all loan or all image excellence. They would get 2 merits each. You could earn 8 merits a year. Not many people do that. That's the Richard Sturdivant's, Judy Reinfords of the world that that can be that successful. The rest of us tend to get an occasional imaging excellence, especially if you're doing restoration. It doesn't happen very often. So that was it. That's what you could get in under the old system. So 13 competition merits were needed for each degree. You needed 25 total merits for a degree, any of the 3. 13 of those had to come from competition in that category. So just thinking through that then, 1 opportunity a year, most people would get, if they were lucky, 4 or 5 merits in a year. It's hard to get even 4 merits in a year under that system. And medals and awards were given out based on your scores, based on how many merits and how many image excellence you had. The different medals equated to the ratio of merits and image excellence. Now, with merit image review, here's what that looks like. It's monthly now, February to November. So 10 opportunities as opposed to 1 opportunity previously. 4 entries per division per month. So actually 40 opportunities a year if you're going for all 3 degrees. That's a lot of opportunity. I mean, just the jump to 10 times a year or to a monthly one means that people can really work on their degree and not just work on a couple of images, put them aside, enter them, wait for the results, and then wait for next year. This is really a huge, huge improvement. It is private and confidential, as opposed to before, where it was publicly being streamed. Now, it was still confidential and private in that nobody knew whose images were being judged. So you could enter your images, but unless you'd shown them to a lot of people, nobody knew when your image came up and we watched it being judged and challenged and so on. Nobody knew whose it was. So you always had a bit of safety in that if you're intimidated by having your work seen by others and being made public. But here, it's totally private and confidential because it's not being streamed. You submit, it gets judged, you find out how you did, and you decide what to do about it. So here, a slight change in the scoring. The scoring will be no merit, low potential. No merit, potential. So those two, that's kind of interesting. What they want people to know is if it gets a no merit, low potential, it means basically go back to the camera, reshoot, do something new, because that image, no amount of Photoshop work is going to bring that up to a merit, basically. So there are flaws probably in the way in which it was lighted and photographed that mean it's not likely you're going to be able to work that up and improve it and resubmit it. So they don't want you to waste your time. And I think that's fair and thoughtful. No merit with potential means that's an image that might be close. It might in previous years might have scored a 78 or a 79, maybe even a 77. There were some things with it that could be improved and tweaked and resubmitted and possibly get a merit. No guarantees ever in all of this. So we've got first one, second one, then merit, then image excellence. So these two are as they had been for the last couple of years, merit or image excellence. Image excellence, now I didn't say previously in competition in IPC, merits would get judged a second time by a different panel for image excellence. Here, one panel is making the decision across the full range. And so it's not going to get a second look. I think that's a little bit of um, a downside to this model. It's got to go through and get image excellence right away if it's going to get it at all. And for somebody like me, who's really only trying to get image excellence, I'm trying to get up to that 13 image excellence images. I'm a little fearful of submitting something that is only going to get a merit, because I really am hoping to get image excellence. But I mean, that's the way it goes. Single juror critiques may be ordered, just as before. So when you submit your images for MIR, up until the day in which the entry window closes, the last day of the month, you can order critiques. So you can submit your images, let them sit there and think about, is this one I really want to get a critique on, so that if it comes back no merit potential, I can find out from somebody what that group thought was the reason it didn't make it. So maximum 8 merits per year per division. So still like last year, you can only get 8 merits in a division per year. So if you're working on your Master of Photography degree, you can enter all year long. Once you hit 8 merits, the system's going to stop. Now, and they're not giving 2 merits any longer for loan or image excellence. It's 1 merit per image if it merits or gets image excellence. So the thinking behind that is they want the degree to have even more strength to it, in that you've entered 13 different images that got merits, as opposed to somebody who's just really, really good, who might enter 7 images and earn the degree. If they get double diamond for 2 years and then get that one. Anyway, so that's the thinking. That's the way this is configured. Let's talk a little bit about why the change. Why did the board of directors decide to make this shift? And it's interesting to hear this kind of statistical information. 99% of PPA membership do not enter IPC. That blows my mind. And reasons for that, supposedly, this is what I hear. They don't want their work made public. They're uncomfortable with having their work be seen. There's an embarrassment factor. They're intimidated by it. And so one of the main purposes behind creating the merit image review is for people to know it's just between them and a jury, and the jury doesn't know who they are. They can go about their business working in private without anybody seeing their work and earn their degree. And that's something we want everybody to be doing. Participation promotes growth. And so increasing that participation through the number of people and through the number of images means that we're going to be expanding people's growth. Those of us who have competed over the years, we feel very strongly about this one. Participation in competition for me has been every year since the year 2012. And it's that I attribute my growth to. And not just at PPA, but state level competition is as important to me, if not more important, especially with the advent of printcompetition.com, where I can enter in other places and get timely feedback and streaming feedback, where I can watch challenges take place. To me, watching a challenge is much more valuable than getting a critique by one person. And the other, this is pretty much what PPA says. It's to lift the industry and photography standards through the growth that members experience. So this is word for word off of the website in the MIR section. The ultimate goal of the Merit Image Review is to motivate and educate PPA members to be the best photographers they can possibly be. The PPA Image Merit is the industry standard for professional photography. And there's the link. There is where you can find that. It's pretty easy to find. I'm going to show you how to access that site, and even I'm going to show you how to do entries and that sort of thing. So let's shift into some of the nuts and bolts of the Merit Image Review. So first, they're based on the degrees, primarily based on the degrees. Master of Photography, categories within that are portrait, illustrative, reportage, and albums. Now, a word about categories. Categories don't have the same meaning they had before. Under the old IPC, those categories were award categories. These are not award categories. These are simply for purposes of PPA clustering like images or like entries together and judging them all together. So they don't want albums filtered in with reportage. They don't have the portraits mixed in with the illustrative or albums. They'll do a group of portraits. In fact, they'll probably impanel a group of jurors to evaluate the portraits. Maybe another one to do illustrative. I'm not sure exactly how they're populating those at the moment, other than that they're, every month and so on. So it's not a matter of deciding you're deciding what kind of award or where you want an award to come. You'll see where some of that is a little bit different from previously. Master of Wedding Photography, these are the categories you have to put in when you enter your images in MIR. Wedding Open, single maker albums, and multi-maker albums. And then finally, Master Artist, there's only one category, Artist Open. And so anything that is going for an artist degree, composites, digital paintings that are complex enough that you want to be judged based on the difficulty of the work, and restorations go into this category. They don't have a restoration subcategory because they're not going to judge them separately. They're going to be mixed together with other artist entries in the judging. And that's all these categories really mean. They're more for their benefit than for ours. Okay, so 3 degrees and the categories that you have to decide when you enter particular images or albums. Okay, deadlines and fees. The MIR takes place the second week of each month, February to November. So this coming one, we are in the last week of April right now. And therefore, the second full week of May, not next week, but the week after, is when they will be judging entries that went in here in April. So kind of nice. They take the time off in October, November, or I'm sorry, in December and January because of IPC, and probably because of all that they have to do to get ready for the new IPC. In fact, I'm amazed they're going to be able to pull it off doing one of these in November and using jurors there when jurors are going to be judging for IPC and narrowing the field in every one of the 32 categories down to 30 people who are moving on to the finalist rounds. Deadline is the last day of the previous month. So April 30th is the deadline for the next one. Registration is online. It's $25 per image for up to 4 images per degree per month. So you could submit 1 image. You don't have to submit a case. You could submit 4 images. I have done it now twice. I entered 3 in both Artist and Open for March, and I've entered 3 or 4 total this month. So $10 for a critique, which must be ordered before the closing of the registration deadline. That wording's a little different here. You can order it then, but it remains open that you could order that critique until registration window closes. So you can change your mind on that. However, once you pay for your image and enter it into MIR, it's locked. You cannot go back and edit it without calling PPA and getting them to make the change for you, just like it was before. The critiques will be delivered within 3 weeks of the review. And the purpose there is they want to get the critiques out to people before the end of that month, so that they have a chance to work on it probably in the final week of the month to resubmit. Okay, let's talk about some general parameters and rules. You'll find all of these spelled out in the MIR section. So these are not things that that are secret and hidden. You must upload a digital file for each image entered. That's no different from what we've done before. No changes are allowed, and it says after the deadline passes, but that's the wording on their website. But I got clarification, and I also tested it in my entries this month. No changes are really easy to do once you've paid the fee for the entry. It basically is locked at that point. Must be PPA members to submit. Entries are judged against the 12 elements of a merit image. And if you don't know what those are, you ought to really go take a look at them. There are plenty of resources on PPA's website about those. And there are a lot of us walking around that know what these are all about. You may use elements not created by the entrant, but these must be indicated by including guide images on the entry. And that's important to know that that is primarily in the open division. So in an illustrative or a portrait submission, you can use something that you didn't create, but you have to document that by putting the guide image of that in your entry. In the same way that in the artist category, we use guide images to help the jurors know what we've composited from, for them to judge the difficulty of it. Now, one thing that was mentioned sort of in passing earlier in somebody's question, restorations cannot be entered this year in the new IPC. They can be entered here in MIR because in IPC, one of the rules is makers have to have photographed everything in their image. And so since I restore images that were shot before I was born, that can't be, and I would not likely be restoring an image of my own anyway. So they've effectively eliminated restoration from IPC, which is sad for me, but I'm glad it's still part of the MIR, and I hope that states won't dump it too, feeling like they got to follow suit with PPA. Entrant has obtained and has access to all necessary releases and agrees to hold PPA harmless. That's one of their rules. If it's a photograph of a person or a building, you need to have permission for that, a model release or a property release. Entrant's name must not appear in or on the entry. That's nothing new. They want it to be anonymous for your good. No entries that were made under an instructor's supervision or as a class assignment. It must be self-directed. I do a lot of mentoring and I teach a lot of classes on restoration. While I want people to be applying in my longer workshops, they can't use those in competition because they're under teacher supervision. No entries created from existing photos, portraits, graphics, or artwork created by another are allowed, meaning, and that's the copyright provision. You can't take somebody else's work, make some modifications to it and call that your own. And once an image receives a merit, it may not be entered again. That's the same as previous system. Entries of the same subject in multiple images are allowed if the images are entirely different concepts. So different costuming, different lighting, different setting. It truly is a different photo. You can't just take somebody and turn them to the left and turn them to the right and do a portrait of them and enter both of those. That's not different enough. Some degree-specific rules. Master of Photography and Master of Wedding Photography, all processing, manipulating, or rendering must be done by the entrant or under their direct supervision. Meaning you can't just hand it off to somebody who's great at editing and let them do their thing. You've got to tell them exactly what to do if you're having somebody edit your work. That rule's always been in place. Under Master Artist, as has been, this is continuing, all work must be done by the entrant, because what they're judging there is how well you do that work. Submission formatting, this is new, and it is challenging. And I've read online a lot of people sort of whining about it, but there's reason for it. File sizing, if you remember in the past, file sizes had to fit within a 4,000 by 4,000 at 200 pixels per inch. Now, a maximum of 1920 pixels wide and 1080 pixels high. Reason for that? That's the size of the screen they're going to be judging them on. And they don't want any wasted pixels. So getting this right is really important, because if you don't, you're going to basically get kicked out of the system. Embedded color profile of sRGB or Adobe RGB 1998. JPEG quality setting of 10. Files named as image 1 JPEG, image 2 JPEG, etc. Don't give titles to your image, to your file names. No underscores or special characters, just exactly how I have it there. Image 1, image 2, image 3, image 4. What I'm not certain of, though, is when I submit to 2 different divisions, do I continue 5, 6, 7, 8, or do I start over again at 1, 2, 3, 4? I'm doing 5, 6, 7, 8 just to be safe. They don't like it, they can call me. Titles can be entered in the registration area when uploading. It's easy to see when you get there, and you'll see it because I'm going to show it to you. There's a place to put the title of your work, and that's what will be read to the jurors. But I think for purposes of their organization, the image 1, image 2, image 3 keeps everything clean and neat and easy to work with. So here's basically a depiction of that. And this is proportionally 1920 by 1080. And that's basically the typical screen in shape and size. So here's what that might look like depending on what you're submitting. So if you're submitting something that is in portrait orientation, then that's what it's going to look like. It's only going to stand, you're going to have all this space right and left that won't be used. That's important to know, because that might affect how big you make your mats. You're going to have to juggle that, the importance of presentation and the size of your image so that you're sure that it gets seen. By the way, these are images that have been through former IPCs. Okay, here's what it looks like if you're entering something that's wide. If it's not exactly 1080 tall, or if it's not in this ratio, then some of this space will be lost, but not bad. So a panoramic is going to look pretty thin in this space, just the way the previous one did. Okay. So now registering your entries, I want to show you a little bit of, take you on a little bit of a tour of the PPA website so you can see here's how you go about doing it. So when you get to when you log into your PPA site, You know, you see a picture over here, you see the welcome your name and all that stuff. And up here, you see these words. If for the My PPA, all of your information is here in this little tab bar. But up here is the sort of global tab bar. Under credentials, all of this now falls under credentials. In fact, you can see the things that fall, all of these are under Rich Newell. Now, Rich is in charge of all of this, including certified professional photographer now falls under him. But Merit Image Review, and if you click on Merit Image Review, it will take you to the page that sort of then shows all of these links. So that's my recommendation. Click there first. Okay. And this is what you'll see. And if you don't scroll, I mean, so notice here's that language that I used earlier, the ultimate goal of the Merit Image Review. There's the wording right there. And there are the categories for scores that I went through with you. I didn't say this, but anything that gets an image excellence here will go in the image excellence collection book. I don't know if a showcase book will exist in the future or this year, because I don't know how they go about deciding on that, doing things on a monthly basis. So that may be going the way of the aardvark. Okay, let's see here. Oh, okay. Now I did this as a video, so you're going to watch. You click on that when you want to enter one, so you can see. Actually, let me pause this. I'll take it back a hair. So just so you can see, let's look at the landscape here. Create a new entry. When you're ready to create your entry, you'll click here. Notice it's showing here. I have no upcoming entries yet. That'll change once I add something. And they give you this information. And then down here will be all of the things you have you've submitted previously, and all the way back into IPC. So if I scroll down here, I can see everything I ever merited, everything that loaned, everything that went image excellence. So you can see here were the 6 that I entered and that were judged in March. Got image excellence on 1 restoration. I got a no merit with potential on 2 other restorations. I got 2 merits in illustrative and a no merit with potential. So you can see all of those. And if you click over here, it'll show you that image. It'll show you that information about it. Okay, let's resume so you can watch what happens when you create a new entry. So you can see here's where you can type in your title. So I recorded this while I was making a submission. So title, Master of Photography. Now the category within, it'll be illustrative this time because that's what this is. And then you browse and choose your file. Goes off screen here because I had it doing something else. So notice I have an up for grabs MIR and an up for grabs for general competition. So it's there, and then you click the button down here, the red button. It doesn't show it very well, and it shows entry saved, and it brings you back to this screen. Now, important, realize you have just added information. So you could go in and put in a dozen images like I just did. They are not entered in MIR yet until you click this button right here. And you'll see what happens when you do that. So you can go back and edit that image before you actually enter it. Here is just a holding place for images that you're considering entering in MIR. And that's important to keep in mind. So you might, as you come across things across a period of time, add them in here. You can always decide later, nah, I'm not going to enter that one. I think it's going to suck. So I think it won't have a good shot. So I'm going to resume, and we're going to, oops, I guess I didn't. I think I have that on another slide. Yeah, yeah. So so when you hit enter, it takes you to this screen. And on this screen, you make a decision here to enter with a critique at $35 or without a critique at 25. I chose without a critique at 25 because it's not that big a deal to me in this case. And then it'll have you pick whatever card you're going to charge it to, and then you hit purchase. And once you hit purchase, it's going to run your card and it's going to show your entry on this screen. It's going to pop this window open and show you for May MIR 2023 up for grabs, degree Master of Photography, category illustrative, awaiting review. So anytime you want to, you can come back to the screens, click on to view your entry, and it'll tell you whether it's awaiting review or it'll tell you what the result was. The week they're doing it, good idea to just be coming and checking, because the first time they did this, they did it late in the week. The second time they did it early in the week, and people were really surprised, like, oh, mine are up. So it was kind of exciting. So why enter MIR? Safe, confidential path to degrees. Really important. If you're not working for a degree, push yourself. It's for your good, and it's for your client's good, and for your business's good. There's so much you can learn. It accelerates your growth, especially if you're doing it in state as well, so that you have a chance to hear challenges. I love challenges. You really get a good set of eyes and brains on something, and they learn from each other when they challenge. Opportunity to learn, especially if you order critiques and apply them. You also participate in other state competitions where you can hear jurors challenge and discuss entries. You become a premium member of printcompetition.com, where your challenges get recorded and uploaded for later reference. Any competition that is on printcompetition.com, if you enter and there's a challenge to your work, that gets recorded and then it gets put on your page, and you can go listen to that critique as many times as you want. I'm a premium member. It costs you like $10 for a quarter. So, I mean, $40 for a year, there's no way I'm not spending that kind of money. It also allows you to all kinds of other benefits with seeing scores come up during a competition. It's a great, great system. Jeff Burton deserved the award that PPA gave him last year for the technology impact. Does a great job with it. Here's what it looks like, by the way. So in my, when I log in, I can click on any competition that's on the board or click on my past competition entries, and I see cataloged from most recent to oldest, all the way back in time, as long as printcompetition.com was working. And a couple of reasons I want you to see this. So you can see, you will get on that, you'll see all of the individual judges' scores. Green are merit or better scores. Blue are non-merit scores. So I'm a real human being, folks. I've got my master artist, master photographer, craftsman, CPP, ASP educational associate. But do I get non-merit entries? You bet I do. And those are really important to me. And see all these little audio buttons? States have started adding uniform critiques throughout the session so that every entry has judges comment on it, which means that's why you see on every one of these from here on up, there is an audio. So you click that audio, you get to hear the conversation that the judges engaged in their challenge. Now, let's see, there was another one here. Also, I want you to see it is real. I put this one into the Texas annual. It got 4 seal of approval. That's their meaning of merit. And 1 judge thought it was Texcellence. That's image excellence for them. They have in between that images of distinction. So that one did really well in Texas on the 21st of March. But when I entered it and it got judged the next day in my own state, not a single juror merited it. And they just sort of found reasons not to give it a merit. That's the way competition goes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you just need to have a juror on the panel that says, wait a minute, I really like this one and here's why. I want you to see this one too. If you remember my entry history in MIR, in March, I entered this, and it also went through Maryland PPA. It got an 84. 2 judges thought it should have been an excellent. MIR didn't even merit it, and I have no idea why. So I didn't ask for a critique. I personally don't find single juror critiques in this realm in restoration to be very helpful. I think they're very helpful in portrait and in illustrative. Not so much, I think, in restoration. They're probably helpful in artists in general, though. So, I mean, you can see. I mean, I learned a lot of good stuff from these commercial critiques. And this one has worked its way up because of listening to challenges and critiques. I found things in this that jurors pointed out that brought this to the point where it did well in Maryland and it did well in Texas. And so I'm probably going to enter it in an MIR at some point, but it'll probably not merit given the way that can go. So here's my exhortation to you. Don't let fear of failure prevent you from entering. So-called failures are the building blocks to success. In competition, these are not failures. Not getting a merit doesn't mean it's a failure. In fact, almost every non-merit is being called above average professional work. So not failures, not failures. Really important to keep in mind. If you've been dragging your feet and just feeling like, oh, I don't know if I want to go through that, or do it, dive into it. Put your whole self into it and keep going. You will look back someday, probably sooner rather than later, and be thankful that you did.